The truth behind Kim Soo Hyun and Kim Se-ron's relationship has sparked a firestorm in South Korea, unraveling a story steeped in mystery, heartbreak, and controversy. What began as rumors of a hidden romance has spiraled into shocking claims, an underage love affair, financial fallout, and a tragic end. As fans and critics dig for answers, the saga challenges Korea's values and laws. We've sifted through the chaos, from tangled timelines to legal risks, to uncover what's real. Curious for the full scoop? Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest on this unfolding drama. The buzz around Kim Soo Hyun and Kim Se-ron kicked into high gear in early March 2025, shaking up the South Korean entertainment world like a sudden storm. It all started when a YouTube channel called Hoverlab dropped a bombshell video on March 10th, featuring Kim Se-ron's aunt spilling some jaw-dropping claims. She said the two actors had been in a secret relationship for 6 years, starting back in 2015. That timeline raised eyebrows fast. Se-ron would have been just 15 years old, still a kid in high school, while Soo Hyun was 27, a grown man already famous for starring in hit dramas like My Love from the Star. The aunt didn't stop there. She claimed Se-ron had poured her heart into helping Soo Hyun build his agency, Gold Medalist, back in 2019, working behind the scenes without pay because of their bond. But things supposedly fell apart in 2022 after Se-ron got caught driving under the influence, a messy incident that trashed her career and, according to her family, left her abandoned by Soo Hyun. Fast forward to February 16th, 2025, Kim Soo Hyun's birthday of all days, and the story took a dark turn. Kim Se-ron was found dead in her Seoul apartment. The police called it suicide, and the timing hit like a gut punch to fans and onlookers. Whispers started swirling that her death on his birthday wasn't a coincidence, maybe even a final message. Her family didn't waste time pointing fingers. Through Hoverlab, her aunt said Gold Medalist had covered nearly $500,000 in damages from Se-ron's DUI crash at first, acting like they'd let it slide. But then, in 2024, they flipped the script and demanded she pay it all back. Se-ron, already struggling to get back on her feet, couldn't handle the pressure, her aunt claimed. That video lit a match under the whole thing, and suddenly everyone was talking about it. Hoverlab kept the fire going. A few days later, they posted a blurry photo that sent shockwaves through the internet. Kim Soo Hyun, looking cozy, planting a kiss on Se-ron's cheek. They said it was from 2016, when she was still a minor at 16. Then came a text message, dated March 19th, 2023, supposedly from Se-ron to Soo Hyun. In it, she's begging him not to sue her over the money, saying she'd pay back the 700 million won, about 525,000 bucks, bit by bit once she landed new acting gigs. Her words sounded desperate, like someone drowning and reaching for a lifeline that never came. On March 13th, Se-ron's mom stepped into the spotlight via Hoverlab, her voice trembling as she vowed to clear her daughter's name. She insisted the relationship was real and that lies in the press had crushed Se-ron's spirit. Not long after, Dispatch Korea, a big-name outlet known for digging up celebrity dirt, jumped in with their own report on March 12th. They backed up the idea that Soo Hyun and Se-ron had been a couple, saying she'd signed with Gold Medalist partly because of him. Their story matched the family's on-the-money drama. Gold Medalist paid the DUI damages at first, but then sent her a bill in March 2024, even though they'd hinted she wouldn't have to repay it right away. Dispatch painted a picture of Se-ron scrambling, selling off stuff to scrape together cash, and firing off that text to Soo Hyun, who never replied. The silence from him only made things look worse. Meanwhile, Kim Soo Hyun's team at Gold Medalist was scrambling to put out the fire. Since the first Hoverlab video, they'd been shouting from the rooftops that the romance rumors were nonsense, calling them nasty lies cooked up to smear their star. They swore any photos floating around were old, from back when Se-ron and Soo Hyun were just co-workers at the same agency, nothing more. As for the repayment demand, they said it was just paperwork, nothing personal, though dispatch hinted Se-ron didn't get that memo. Gold medalist promised Soo Hyun would come out swinging with a full explanation and proof to shut it all down, set for the week after March 12th, but the damage was already piling up. Fans turned on Soo Hyun fast. His Instagram took a hit, bleeding over 500,000 followers, dropping from over 21 million to 20.7 million in days. Big brands like Tous Les Jours and K2 Korea yanked his ads off the air, not wanting their names tied to the mess. His new Disney Plus show, Knockoff, started looking shaky, with talk of delays buzzing around. Even NBC's Good Day, a lighthearted variety gig, faced pressure to cut him loose. People online couldn't stop talking about the age difference. If the relationship started in 2015, Se-ron was a teenager and he was pushing 30. Then there was the fact he didn't show up to her funeral, which only fanned the flames of outrage. Some wondered if her death on his birthday was her way of haunting him, a theory that spread like wildfire even without proof. The back and forth kept heating up. Hoverlab's track record wasn't spotless. Some of their past scoops had been debunked, but Se-ron's family standing behind them gave the claims legs. Gold medalists stuck to their guns, threatening to sue Hoverlab for trashing Soo Hyun's name. Dispatch's digging added fuel, but questions lingered about how solid their story was. Everyone was waiting for Soo Hyun's next move, that promised statement that might finally tip the scales one way or the other. For now, the scandal was a runaway train, leaving careers, reputations, and a grieving family in its wake. When whispers of Kim Soo Hyun and Kim Se-ron's rumored relationship started swirling, the first thing that struck people was the age gap. If the story checks out, they got together in 2015. She was 15, a high school kid with a bright future in acting, and he was 27, already a household name raking in fame and cash from dramas. That's a 12-year difference, and it's not just numbers that make it complicated. In South Korea, age isn't just a detail, it's a big deal, woven deep into how people interact. Older folks get respect, younger ones listen, and there's this unspoken rule that relationships should feel balanced, especially when one person's still a teenager figuring out life. So when Se-ron's aunt claimed on Hoverlab that this romance kicked off back then, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it set off alarm bells. Korean culture loves its traditions, and one of them is protecting the young. Teens aren't seen as adults ready to make big calls, especially not about dating someone a decade older. Sure, K-dramas sometimes play up age gap romances for swoony tension. Think a charming 30-something CEO falling for a plucky 20-year-old, but those stories usually keep it safe, with both characters past their school years. A 15-year-old with a 27-year-old? That's a whole different game. Fans and regular folks alike started asking, did he see her as an equal, or was she just a kid caught up in his world? The idea of Soo Hyun, a polished star, pursuing someone so young felt off to a lot of people, like a line had been crossed that shouldn't have been. Then there's the power angle. By 2015, Kim Soo Hyun was a megastar, riding high after My Love from the Star. Made him a heartthrob across Asia. Kim Se-ron, talented as she was still climbing. Known for child roles and just stepping into bigger parts. In Korea, where celebrity status can feel like royalty, that gap in fame and experience adds another layer. People wondered if she looked up to him, maybe even felt pressured to say yes to a guy who could open doors or close them. Her aunt's claim that Se-ron helped build gold medalists for free only thickened the plot. Was she a girlfriend pitching in, or a young girl roped into something she didn't fully grasp? In a culture that prizes fairness, the thought of him leaning on her like that didn't sit right with many. Public reaction showed how much this clashed with Korean values. Once the scandal broke in March 2025, Social media lit up with fans raging over the idea of Soo Hyun dating a minor. Age gaps happen. Older guys with younger women aren't rare, but 15 and 27 felt like a stretch too far. In Korea, where community matters more than individual whims, people don't just shrug off something that looks exploitative. They call it out, and they did. Comments flooded in about how he should have known better, how a man his age had no business chasing a teenager. Even if it was mutual, the optics were awful. Se-ron was still in that awkward phase between kid and adult, while Soo Hyun was deep into his prime. Korean dating norms add more context. Couples there often move slow. Think long talks, group hangouts, and a big emphasis on respect. For younger people, especially teens, dating's supposed to be innocent, not a leap into something serious with an adult. Parents keep a close eye, and society expects guys to step up as protectors, not push boundaries. If Soo Hyun and Se-ron were sneaking around back then, it would have been a secret for a reason. People would have flipped. Compare that to, say, a 20-year-old dating a 32-year-old later on, and the vibe shifts. By her 20s, Se-ron would have been seen as more independent, the gap less glaring. Timing mattered, and 2015 wasn't it. The fallout hints at how deep this cuts. When Dispatch and Hoverlab doubled down on the romance claims, fans didn't just gossip, they turned on Soo Hyun. His Instagram followers tanked, and brands ditched him like hot coal. In Korea, celebs aren't just entertainers, they're role models, held to a standard that's sky high. Dating a minor, even if it was years ago, shattered that image for a lot of people. It wasn't just about love or consent, it was about responsibility. Se-ron's youth made her vulnerable, and Soo Hyun, as the older one, was supposed to steer clear, not dive in. That's the cultural lens. Adults shield kids, they don't date them. Her family's side of the story only stoked the fire. Her mom and aunt painted Se-ron as someone who loved him, trusted him, and got burned. They said she poured herself into his dreams, helping with gold medalist, sticking by him, only to feel tossed aside after her DUI mess in 2022. In a society that values loyalty, that betrayal angle hit hard. Fans wondered if he used her, if her youth made her an easy mark. Whether it was romance or something else, the unequal footing stuck out. Korean culture doesn't vibe with relationships that feel lopsided, age, power, fame, whatever. It's about harmony, and this looked like chaos. By the time Se-ron's death came into play, the narrative was set. People saw a young woman crushed by a bond that, culturally, never should have happened. Not like that, not then. Soo Hyun's silence at her funeral didn't help. In Korea, showing up matters, especially if you shared something deep. To fans, it screamed coldness, a final snub to a girl who'd already lost too much. Whether the relationship was real or not, the clash with how Koreans see right and wrong turned it into a scandal that wouldn't quit. It wasn't just a love story gone wrong. It was a cultural taboo unpacked in real time. The scandal tying Kim Soo Hyun to Kim Se-ron has everyone wondering what kind of trouble he might face under Korean law, especially with claims that their relationship started when she was just 15. Back in 2015, when this allegedly kicked off, South Korea's age of consent sat at 13, a number that sounds shockingly low to American ears. It wasn't until 2020 that they bumped it up to 16, trying to better shield kids from adults who might take advantage. Even so, Korean law draws a hard line at 19. That's when you're officially an adult, free to make your own calls without someone crying foul. So if Soo Hyun at 27 was dating a 15-year-old Se-ron, it wasn't technically illegal then, since she was over 13. But that doesn't mean it's a free pass. There's a gray area that could still spell trouble for him. Korean law has a rule called the Protection of Minors Clause, tucked into the Act on the Protection of Children and Juveniles Against Sexual Abuse. It's a safety net, designed to stop adults from messing with kids under 19, if there's any hint of exploitation or coercion. Even if Se-ron said yes to the relationship, prosecutors could argue Soo Hyun used his age, fame, or sway to pull her in, especially since he was a big-shot actor and she was a teenage starlet just finding her footing. If they dig into it and find evidence like texts or photos showing he steered her into something she wasn't ready for, he could face charges. Penalties here aren't light. Think up to 10 years in prison if it's bad enough, though milder cases might land him a few years or a hefty fine. The catch is, they'd need solid proof, and with Se-ron gone, it's her family's word, some shaky Hover Lab claims, and whatever scraps Dispatch dug up against Soo Hyun's denials. Timing's a tricky beast too. Korean law usually gives prosecutors 7 years to chase a crime like this, starting from when it happened. If the relationship began in 2015 and wrapped up by 2021, like her aunt says, the clock's still ticking. Barely. They've got until around 2028 to file charges, assuming they pin down exact dates. But here's where it gets messy. Se-ron's death in February 2025 muddies the water. Without her testimony, it's a he said she said battle, leaning on old messages or that cheek kiss photo from 2016. Gold medalist swears it's all lies, and Soo Hyun's promised statement might toss out evidence to back that up. If he dodges this bullet, it'll be because the law needs more than rumors to lock him up. Now, flip the script to the US. If this went down in, say, California, Soo Hyun would have been toast back in 2015. The age of consent there is 18, no wiggle room. A 27-year-old with a 15-year-old? That's statutory rape, plain and simple, even if she was all in. Doesn't matter if he's a celebrity or a nobody. Cops wouldn't blink before slapping cuffs on him. Penalties could climb to 8 years in prison, and he'd be tagged as a sex offender for life. Name on a list that'd follow him everywhere. America's stricter stance comes from a zero-tolerance vibe on age gaps like that. 12 years between them would have set off every alarm bell. Korea's old 13 threshold feels lenient by comparison, though the 2020 change to 16 shows they're catching up. Head across the pond to the UK, and it's a different tune. Their age of consent is 16, so in 2015, a 15-year-old Se-ron with a 27-year-old Soo Hyun would have been illegal too, just not as harshly punished as in the US. The law there zeroes in on abuse of trust. If the older person's in a power position, like a teacher or boss. Soo Hyun wasn't her manager, but his star power might have swayed a court to see him as the one calling shots. He could have faced up to 7 years, though judges often go lighter unless it's predatory. The UK balances consent with context, unlike Korea's broader net that might snag him for exploitation even if it was legal at the time. Japan's another twist. Their age of consent was 13 until 2023, when they hiked it to 16, mirroring Korea's old setup. If this played out in Tokyo in 2015, Soo Hyun would have been in the clear legally, same as Korea back then. But Japan's got a corruption of minors law that could have tripped him up if prosecutors thought he messed with her head. Sentences there are shorter, maybe 5 years max, and they lean hard on social shame over jail time. Compared to Korea, it's less about prison and more about reputation. A scandal like this could have ended his career faster than a courtroom. So where does Soo Hyun stand? Korean law might not nail him unless they prove he twisted Se-ron's arm, and the statute's ticking down. The US would have buried him, the UK would have weighed his influence, and Japan might have let him slide with a scarlet letter. It's a legal tightrope. His fate hinges on what sticks, and right now, it's all smoke and mirrors until the evidence lands. Peeling back the layers of Kim Soo Hyun and Kim Se-ron's relationship reveals a saga that's gripped South Korea, a tale of love, loss, and lingering questions. Whether it was a forbidden romance or a fabricated lie, the aftermath has left scars and sparked fierce debate. We've explored the truth, the cultural rift, and the legal stakes, but the story's far from over. Will justice prevail or will secrets stay buried? Keep up with every twist. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates and dive into the discussion as we chase the truth behind this unforgettable scandal.